Y'all, we're making Kentucky butter cake. Come on. Welcome to Highfalutin Low Carb, the almost weekly web series where we find and test the best low carb recipes this crazy internet has to offer. Today, we're tackling Kentucky butter cake. Stay tuned. All right, guys, so Kentucky butter cake. This is a new one for me. I've never tried this before. It's a Southern dessert staple, I guess you could say. And obviously, with the word butter in the title, you better believe that all the keto recipe developers have honed in on this cake. Now, it's what a lot of people would call a poke cake. You use a stick or a skewer, you poke holes in it, and you pour some sort of syrup. This time it's gonna be butter and sweetener. And that soaks into the cake and makes it super moist and delicious. Now, also, I said that this was the almost weekly web series. I know I've missed you guys for a couple of weeks. I'm kind of recovering from a little bit of sickness, so I know I sound kind of rough. I definitely look rough and I kind of feel rough. But I didn't want to wait any longer to bring you a new recipe, so today we're tackling Keto Kentucky butter cake. Now our first recipe comes to us from thehungryelephant.ca, and that's Keto Kentucky butter cake. And our second recipe is from our friend Carolyn over at All Day I Dream About Food, and it's Kentucky butter cake. So let's get started. But before we begin, I want to give a huge thank you to Perfect Keto for sponsoring this video. I'll tell you a little bit more about them later. All right, let's get started. All right, so let's get started on our first recipe. Again, this is Keto Kentucky butter cake by the website thehungryelephant.ca. Now, as you know, if you're new here, welcome. If you're not new here, welcome back. I'm not going to give exact measurements for these recipes. They're not my recipes. I'm just here to test them. So if you want to know exactly how to make this, please be sure to visit the links down here on the screen. They'll also be in the video description below. The people who created these, they deserve the traffic, so please check them out there. So we're going to start with this. This is pretty easy. The hardest part to this was buttering the Bundt pan, because you've got to butter it well so this doesn't stick. It's embarrassing enough at home, but especially on camera, and I don't want to risk that. So this is some sour cream, and the important part of the sour cream, I think it takes some of this generally is made with buttermilk, I believe, and this sort of adds to the tang. So into this, we're going to add in some eggs and just whisk them in kind of one at a time. She doesn't say this in the written recipe, but her video shows her adding these in one at a time. So some eggs and some sour cream. Get out of the way. And now we're going to add in some melted butter. And you want to make sure you get all of that out of there. And that's the crucial key ingredient to this, obviously, is the melted butter for Kentucky butter cake. Now, I'm also going to add in a little bit of vanilla extract. And here's where she doesn't say to do this. I'm gonna sift it. Y'all know me, I sift everything. That's just the way I work. So this is gonna be some almond flour. And that goes a little bit of baking powder. Not baking soda, baking powder. And this is our sweetener. It's a granulated, she said erythritol, so that's what I'm using here in both of the recipes, so that's not a variable for us. So just sift this out, make sure you get all the lumps and bumps out. I keep my nut flours in the freezer, like a lot of people, keeps them fresher longer, but it also can cause the fats from the almonds to congeal, and you don't want to leave any lumps and bumps behind. This one wasn't so bad. So just run this through. The sweetener had more lumps in it than the flour did. So we're just gonna whisk this together good. Pretty simple. Like I said, not a lot of ingredients to this, and the hardest part was making sure the pan was greased well enough. Okay, super duper easy. It smells great in here. I just can't tell you, the vanilla and all that butter, holy macaroni, it smells good. Okay, so we've got our Bundt pan here, and obviously both recipes tell you you need a well-greased Bundt pan, and I'm going to take actually Carolyn's advice from the other recipe on All Day I Dream About Food, and she double greases hers and then flours it to ensure that this comes out. So I've rubbed this well with butter, right? So you have butter in there, and then she takes a coconut or avocado oil spray, and also sprays on top of the butter. She mentions that you want a liquid and a solid fat. So I'm gonna do that now. And then from there, she takes and flours this lightly with the almond flour. So I'm gonna do that as well. This just ensures, hopefully, that this thing comes out of here. Now, because obviously when you're baking gluten-free, you don't have a lot of the protein that holds breads and cakes together. So these can be crumbly, right? So you just want to make sure to find a Bundt pan that doesn't have a lot of deep ridges in it. I just bought these just for this. A Bundt pan is not something I have around the house generally. And I'm worried that these might be too sharp of a ridge to come out of there, but we're gonna test it together. So anyway, I feel like that's pretty well floured and greased, double greased. And now you're just gonna pour in your batter. Hopefully you can see this. Like I said, in this goes. I'll meet you back here when it comes out in about 35 minutes, and we'll pour the syrup on. And then we gotta wait an hour for it to cool. Boo. All right, meet you right back here. All right, guys, we're back, and this is out of the oven. It's a little brown around the edges. I did take it out about 3 minutes early, so just watch it. It'll all depend on probably on the size of your pan. Now, here's the fun part. This is what makes it from a pound cake into a poke cake. Using a skewer or a dowel or the end of a utensil, we're just gonna poke holes in this. Now, this has to be done while the cake is warm. You want our syrup that I've made off camera to be warm and all this to absorb into this hot cake. So make sure you got enough holes in it. Give it somewhere to go. And now let me go grab my syrup. Okay, so off camera, this is melted butter, some sweetener, a lot of vanilla, and a little bit of water. All right, so that creates our syrup, and then here's where the fun part comes. So pour this over the top, and you want it to go in these holes. Kind of pour it slowly so that it doesn't just go around the edges. You want it to go inside the cake. And then if you need to, you'll have to lift up the pan. Oh gosh, that looks so good. If you need to, you'll lift up the pan and swirl it around so that we get a full soaking. So carefully, it's still hot. Just make sure, you see how it's kind of pooling? You don't want to do that. You want to go in all those little holes. And now, this guy cools completely in this pan. At least an hour, if not more, before we flip it out and attempt to make a reveal with this. So I'm gonna put this on the back burner, actually on a cooling rack in the back behind us, and then we'll start on our second recipe. I'll see you in just a bit. All right, guys, now it's time to start our second recipe, but before we do, I need to give a huge thank you to the sponsor of this video, Perfect Keto. You guys know that they have been a sponsor around here for a long time. They're one of the most respected manufacturers of keto foods and products on the market, and I trust them implicitly, and I know that their products are good. One of my favorites, as you know, is the whey protein powders. I use it for baking, not as a supplement. I use it as a substitute for flour in a lot of baked goods. If you take a little bit of your almond flour or coconut flour and substitute it for a whey protein product, it adds protein where gluten wouldn't be normally, and it kind of gives some structure and light, fluffy airiness, holds things together in baked goods, and I just love it. And it's going to be used actually in this coming recipe. Now, right now, Perfect, you can always get use my code below to get 15% off. But right now, if you go to perfectketo.com and look at there's a code at the end. It's gonna be on the screen here. It'll be in the video description below. Use that code. You can get any two products for 25% off. Be sure to go check them out. They've been a sponsor here for a long time. Perfect Keto, thank you for that. With sponsorships like yours, keep channels like mine on the air. And for that, I'm truly appreciative. So guys, if you want to support me, go support them. Use the link down here on the screen and use the code down below that I'll leave there, and you can pick any two products for 25% off. All right, now let's go make our second recipe. Come on. Okay, so our second recipe comes to us from All Day I Dream About Food. This is Kentucky butter cake. So let's get started on this. As you can see, there's a lot of components here. And it also, I think, is going to make a larger cake all the way around just because there's more ingredients. And I'm going to make this fast because, as you can tell, I'm already losing my voice. I just got it back, but it's going quickly. So we're going to sift out. She doesn't say to sift it, but sift, y'all. This is almond flour. A separate bowl over here, a medium bowl. We're going to do almond flour. She also includes coconut flour. That helps absorb a lot of that butter because coconut flour is super absorbent. And here's her magic ingredient, the whey protein powder. She said you can use whey protein powder or an egg white protein powder, but the protein helps, add in what is missing from the gluten. To this, we're also going to add in quite a bit of baking powder and some salt. If you want to know exactly how much, again, go check out the website at the link down below. And I'm going to start sifting this out. All right, and so this is where we're going to cream our butter and our sweetener. This is the granulated erythritol, just like we use in our other recipe. And Carolyn, All Day I Dream About Food, she was adamant that your eggs and your butter must be room temperature, must be. So let's cream this together and then we'll go from there. Some vanilla extract, a very important part of this recipe. And now I'm going to slowly beat in these eggs, just kind of gradually adding them a few at a time. Okay, now we're going to take our almond flour mixture, all the dry ingredients, and slowly beat that in as well, okay? Okay, once that's combined, we're going to add 2 other liquid ingredients. This is heavy whipping cream and a little bit of water. So I'm going to do that now while I'm beating. Okay, so now we're going to transfer our batter into our double greased baking pan. I did exactly what I did in the last recipe. You saw me do that there. So it's butter and then a liquid fat and then almond flour. So pour this in, transfer it into your baking dish. All right, so we're going to take this to the oven. It's going to bake at about 325 degrees for 50 to 60 minutes. Keep your eyes on it. And then while that's baking, I'm going to do the same thing I did with the other one. We're going to make a little bit of the syrup using her recipe, poke the holes with the skewer, pour it over. Then all of these are going to cool completely, and I'll meet you back here to test them and hopefully get them out of the pans. So, all right, I'll see you back here in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, guys, welcome back. Things have definitely cooled off. In fact, it is the next day. I sort of ran out of my voice yesterday. And so here are our beautiful cakes. This is the first one we made. This is the one by the Hungry Elephant. And then this is the one by All Day I Dream About Food. Now, it's said to make sure that they completely cool before you try to take them out of the Bundt pan. I'm hoping that I didn't screw this up by leaving them in overnight. So they're definitely cooled, but again, they've been in all night. So now let's just do our best here to try to release these. I don't know if I need to run something around the edge. Maybe I should do that. Let me get a plastic spatula. Yeah, there's no way anything's getting in there. So what we're just going to do is, like they said, put a plate on it, flip it over, and please, lordy, lordy, please. Okay, flip it over. It hasn't fallen yet. And now it is not releasing. I'm going to kind of tap it with Y'all, it has not budged one bit. One bit. All right, let's try it with this other one. Maybe I should. Well, if I can't get it out of here, we'll taste it anyway. And just know, don't leave it in the pan overnight. Don't do as I say, not as I do. Okay, let's try our second one. Y'all, this is frustrating. What I'm gonna do, I can't even make a thumbnail photo of it. Okay. Now what? I'm gonna get a knife and try my best not to scratch this pan. I'm so disappointed. I really needed this to come out. You would think with 1.5 cups of butter in here that it wouldn't have any trouble coming out of the pan. But apparently that is not the case. Let's see if that did anything for us. All right, so we cut it in the pan and take it out that way. That's all I know to do. We've got to taste it. Maybe they would just make it a spoon bread. Oh, I'm so frustrated by that. I'm just gonna cut a slice like this. This is so janky. So frustrating. It's almost the texture of pudding. Okay, that's the way it should look, kinda. All right, let's do our other one. Y'all, boo. Okay. All right, we're out at least. Both of them said to sprinkle a little powdered sweetener over the top, so we're gonna do that just to say we did. All right, so now, after all of that, what do these taste like? All right, so let's talk about nutrition. This is our first recipe. This is Keto Kentucky Butter Cake, and this is by thehungryelephant.ca, and this yields 12 slices. As you can tell, it's a lot less volume of a cake, so it's a smaller cake than this one. This makes 12 servings. One serving is 266 calories. You've got 25.8 grams of fat. You've got 5.4 grams of total carbs, 2 grams of fiber for 3.4 grams of net carbs, and about 6 grams of protein. All right, so let's compare that to the second recipe. This is this is Kentucky Butter Cake by All Day I Dream About Food. This recipe makes 16 servings. And I'm not representing that this is a serving, but that's just what I've cut out of the cake. So one serving is 301 calories. You've got 7.3 grams of protein, 27 grams of fat. You've got 5.54 grams of total carbs, 2.5 grams of fiber for 3 grams of net carbs. So 3.4 net carbs, 3 net carbs. Now, what do they taste like? So this is our first one. It is really almost like a pudding. It is so moist and just looks really, really good. So rich and sweet. There is a little granularity of the granulated erythritol. You can kind of feel a little bit of a chew to that, but that is super duper tasty. Very buttery. Kind of, like I said, it's like a white cake mix, like a boxed white cake with like pudding in the mix. That is really tasty. Okay, hold on. Just had to get some water there. So this is our second. This is the All Day I Dream About Food. The texture of this is really, really dense and gooey. So let's come in here. Oh yeah, this feels really good. Carolyn did it again. If this was good, this was great. Both of these are really good and really tasty, and you would not have a problem serving any one of these, but this is just, there's something about the texture. And you remember we put coconut flour in it, we put that whey protein powder. It just has a more legitimate cake flour feel. I also did not detect nearly the amount of the granularity of the sweetener. It's the same sweetener in both, granulated erythritol, Swerve, and this doesn't have the granularity that this one did to me, and both of them were treated the exact same, except we creamed the butter and the sugar sweetener in this recipe, so maybe that had something to do with it. But wow, please go try one of these. This is genius. Don't leave them in the pan overnight like I did, like a dum-dum. Take it out when they're completely cool. They do need to be completely cool, but there you go. So, all right, folks, Kentucky butter cake. You better believe it. Okay, I should never say that again, but yes, you can do it. So definitely try one of these. Use the links down below and let me know what you think. I say it every time, these videos are a way for me to maintain my low carb way of eating. And looking in the end of that camera as often as I can helps keep me honest. So I appreciate that you guys have come along for the journey. If you're not a subscriber, I ask you to go ahead and hit the subscribe button. If you are a subscriber, make sure you've hit the bell button down below. That'll let you know just as soon as I release a new video. And I need to say again, thank you to my sponsor of this, Perfect Keto. Like I say often, sponsorships aren't why I do this, sponsorships are how I do this. So Perfect Keto, I'm truly blessed to have you as a sponsor yet again. You guys be sure to use the link down below and the code down below to get 2 items for 25% off for a limited time. So there'll be a link in the video description below. And lastly, I just need to say thank you to my rock stars, my Patreon members. You're going to see their names start to scroll here. If you don't know what Patreon is, think of it as the tip jar for the internet. It allows people like you who enjoy what people like me do here on YouTube, and you can give $1 or $2 a month just to sort of keep the train on the tracks, as it were. So without these guys, none of this would be possible. So I really, truly appreciate those folks over there. So, all right, guys, I love you. I'm feeling better, so you'll have another couple of videos coming up shortly this week. So keep your eyes peeled, and yeah, I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.